What's up, y'all? Kofi Kingston here, and I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks, depending on what that drink is, preferably non-alcoholic, you know?
How's it going? Tell us who are you, James?
Soda.
I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Maple syrup.
I would never have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Welcome to the dive bar of the IWC. Welcome to Wrestling on the Rocks. I'm at Ref Marsh. We are at WOTR, the show. With me today to talk WWE and the Survivor Series funk, I'm calling it. We got Justin Time. What's up, man?
It's time. It's episode 1 time. That's right. What's up, guys? Happy to be back.
Again.
Still have to get that shirt so bad. Still need to get that shirt.
Oh, yeah. I like that one. I'm gonna tell you what I'm having in my glass real quick. I just picked it up. I just cracked the wax seal. It's the Terramana Añejo. What do they call it? Small batch tequila. Pretty excited about it because
Terramana's fantastic. I tried it at a wedding, and my God, so good.
It's really good. Matter of fact, most of the bars that carry it out here have a hard time getting it back in. They get it in stock like once, it sells really fast, and then they have a hard time getting it back. And I don't know why, but it sells out really fast over there. So you'd think they would just whatever it takes, you know?
I mean, if it's that good, like it's gonna sell like hotcakes.
Yeah. And I've like both of the other ones. So this one, small batch, I'm excited to try out. I'm just gonna have it straight up as we do on the rocks.
Fantastic.
So what do you got? What's in your glass?
We got good old Green Death itself right now. Like I got 2 right now. If I just pop one open and just double fist it like Stone Cold, like I don't feel like freaking cleaning up stuff right now. So
yeah. The amount of time to clean up is gonna be a nightmare.
Right? Oh my God.
Oh, it smells sweet, dude.
It smells like greatness.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Hit you so hard it'll leave you with the people's eyebrow.
That's about a shot, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's about a shot. We'll go with that.
Yeah, just having a shot real quick.
There you go.
So Justin, just in general, I don't got a ton of news that I feel like getting into, really. I'm just going to get into the shows and we're going to talk about it and have a good time.
Let's do it. Like
Overall,
I try to avoid the news as much as possible because I hate it with a passion.
yeah, there's very little that comes out anymore that seems like of an interesting note. Like best case, all we're getting for a while is like attempts to spoil stuff and incorrect information about contracts and such. And like none of that stuff's the fun stuff in the news. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's cool to see what people think and, you know, what some of the guys are talking about when they leave companies, and that stuff's like interesting, or big moves and mergers is cool. But like right now, the wrestling media has been really dull and not exciting.
Yeah, no, this isn't WWE chatter, and it involves freaking Saraya. But literally, there was a news article that popped up on my feed all of a sudden that somebody retweeted, and it was like, Saraya confirms that she didn't have work on her face, and I'm just like, wow, we really are having an off freaking like news day, huh, guys? That we have to talk about freaking facial surgeries and stuff like that. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Confirms that she did or did not.
She said she didn't, supposedly. And I'm just like, why are we talking about this? Why is this news?
Yeah, this is the headline. I just find that interesting on a really like simple note, because she's expressed how she has had it in the past. And so, but I don't know. I don't know the details. I don't pay that close attention in general anyways to that stuff. And it's kind of like, hey, if it makes anything that makes someone feel better about themselves, I'm not even against to begin with. So,
hey, no complaints.
But yeah, we got Bishop in the chat. He says you have to pour that much so you can drink it at many different temperatures. Cheers. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. All right. Well, dude, let's get into it. Let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
Oh, man. Only episode 1. Everybody relax.
Right.
Don't take a sip.
Right. It's technical difficulties. I mean, even if it's not technical difficulties, take a drink.
That was really good.
Nice.
I'm not a real big tequila drinker in general, but the Terramana one mixes really well with everything. This almost has like a burnt caramel to it.
I got 3 of them. I only tried one of them. I don't know which one it was, but it was really good. So,
yeah. But this one you can actually have just straight, and I feel like I've never had that with any tequila before, that I've been able to be like, just pour it over rocks is fine. But all of his are that way. I don't know. Pretty cool. I'm into it. Anyways, let's do it. Let's talk about it. I got a few things to hit on. Let's start with Smackdown, because Smackdown happened. What's this? Oh, man. We got bots in the chat. Oh, hitting us. Is there a way you can, like, boot them from here? Let me see. Put user in timeout, block user. Oh, there we go. Like, we're just learning. Boom, gone. Blocked. I hope that blocks them from the actual channel, too. Yeah. All right. We're all learning. Hey, episode 1. Here we go.
It's always episode 1, but it's also a learning lesson every time. Ha! It's a teachable moment. Andre Chase taught us well. See?
Oh, God. Well, you better enjoy your last time on the show, pal. Andre Chase.
Chase you.
All right, let's talk SmackDown. Dude, it did open up with Usos versus New Day.
My God.
Have you ever been in the mindset, because I've seen a few people talk about it, where it's like, we've seen this 1,000 times. They've been feuding forever. This isn't new or fresh. And I understand the concept of that mentality. I've never felt that way while watching one of their matches. Like, I also understand that people might feel that way during a build-up, like, regardless of how good the promos are, which I still find them to be captivating. I think that everyone involved in New Day and Usos, I think, are always fantastic on the mic. But by the time the bell rings and the match gets going, I don't understand anyone's mentality of being like, seeing it. You know what I mean? Like,
I went into this match the same mentality. Like, I literally went, we've seen this so many times, and I'm going into this with very little interest, because like you don't really see anything new out of these two teams, but my God, the chemistry that the two teams have is nuts. They always put on these epic freaking tag matches, and it's just like you could always go into it with as little enthusiasm as possible, but as soon as you see the match, you're just like, that's why they're two of the best teams today. Like,
Yeah, they're
come
gonna
on.
get you. Yeah.
Every
I
time.
think people who refuse to watch their matches and stuff, I think it's one of those, because I've seen people say that too, where it's like, oh, I refuse to watch them because I don't like those teams and I think it's boring and the thing's been going on forever. I think when you refuse to watch it, it's because you know they're going to hook you, dude. You just don't want to admit it that they're that good, that they're going to get you, because they always do. No matter how high your expectations are, they're going to meet it. No matter how low your expectations are, they're going to just stomp it into the ground. They are awesome. And this match was no different, dude. It was so fucking good.
God. If I can quote my good friend High Five Tom, it was a fuck of a match. It was absolutely unbelievable. Like those four guys, it's like they just cannot have a bad match. Just cannot have a bad match with each other.
And they, as much as like, I think it's remarkable to me, they come off as two of the most believable teams when it finally gets in and doing the match. Just because of the styles, you know, the amount of super kicks the Usos are going to do, the kind of flying around that they're going to do. There's every reason for stuff to look overly choreographed or overly partnered up, but it never looks that way with these two teams. They always look like they're struggling to win. You know what I mean?
Yes. They always have those like close near falls all the time, and it's like that could have been it. That could have been it. This could be it. Like there's never a dull moment between these four, like ever.
Yeah, I agree. Bluebird's in the chat saying Riddle just killed the vibe for me. He wasn't involved at all in this one. This is SmackDown.
No, he's thinking about the last Monday one.
Yeah, that's true. That match was kind of what it was, but still, I mean, it was solid, but this was better.
That's fantastic. Straight up.
Let's see. I don't know if my notes here have all the stuff that happened in between matches, if I'm being honest. Well, some of it. But we're going to be able to hit the hot spots anyways. Dude, the 6-pack challenge with the women. Oh, hold on, let's circle back. With that win, the Usos are now the longest reigning tag team champions of all time. They now hold that record.
Well deserved. Like,
I have no issues
with kind of falling off the bloodline stuff, like big time, because it just feels like there's really nothing going on with it right now. But can't say they don't deserve it, because holy shit, they are incredible.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. And I remember even thinking getting into this match that it was either going to be kind of the passing of the torch or of, I don't want to say like, it wouldn't have shocked me if the New Day won and then lost at Survivor Series. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't have shocked me if they won here to stop the record from happening, put the titles back up for a rematch at Survivor Series, and then lost that match and the Usos got their titles back. I wouldn't have been shocked if they wanted to maintain that record for the New Day. But it's really cool to kind of watch a match that good that's realistically kind of a passing of the torch. And when you think about the promo that they cut on the way in, the New Day saying that record meant a lot to them because of what it represented and the time it represented, and especially with Big E. And I mean, realistically, from all things that we've heard of and the little that we know, we're not doctors, but the possibility he may never wrestle again is still looming out there. It's still possible. Like, we don't know with certainty that he's coming back. So it wouldn't have shocked me if they wanted to sentimentally have them hold on to that thing. But there's also, I think, a lot of meaning in not that they're in control of any of it. Let's not pretend like we don't have any clue, but there is like a cool feeling about that sort of like passing of the torch. Like, yeah, that was our time. That was our moment. That was that group. And that even that time, that group, that everything, all the sentimentality that goes around along with it is still like number 2 to what you guys are doing right now. And that was kind of cool, you know?
I mean, even when the match ended, just by the way they just kind of like were recovering, but just kind of gave them that look and gave him that point, and it was just like you see how much respect the four of them have for each other.
Yeah. No, it was awesome. So we did have a 6-pack challenge to find a number 1 contender for Ronda Rousey, which I believe is for Survivor Series, correct?
Yes, it is.
We had Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Shotzi, Sonya, Lacey Evans, and Xia Li. And ultimately, Shotzi won. There was some really weird stuff in this match.
He just took the words right out of my mouth. Such a strange match.
6 people matches is already tough. Triple threats are tough because there's so many people involved. And with all the multi-person matches, there's that no disqualification factor, which kind of actually will complicate things, right? But I mean, I don't have a problem with Shotzi winning here because Shotzi's not going to win. Like, Ronda needs someone to go against, and that's a nice little highlighted spot for Shotzi. I think that realistically, that's her second title shot, right? Didn't she have one against Charlotte once?
I don't believe
right?
so. I think she might have, though. I'm not 100% sure.
I thought it was on an early episode that she had come up to SmackDown that there was a singles match, and I think we all said, like, really weird to have her just go for the title and lose so right away.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think for Shotzi's, kayfabe stats, that's kind of cool. A second title shot. For the reality of what we're looking at is someone for Ronda to steamroll on their way to the next big match. Probably, if I were to guess, probably for a Ronda return. So, or not Ronda return, a Charlotte return. So Ronda and Charlotte could probably face off at Rumble. I think the good news, if that happens, is that means neither of them are in the Rumble.
That's a plus in the end anyway.
Yeah, I don't need either one of them winning a Rumble.
Brock Lesnar and competes later on and then wins the damn thing again.
Yeah.
Like, should be awful.
And Blue Boyd's in the chat saying, should have been Xia Li. She's a badass they aren't using well. Which they aren't, but I don't know if I'd want Xia Li to win this just to go lose to Ronda. Like, I think Shotzi's a big enough character right now, and the fans still love her, that a loss to Ronda here isn't going to, like, damage that. It might actually help that. Might make her a bigger fan favorite, realistically. Or I think Xia Li, they're just... It's hard to say they dropped the ball when they never picked it up to begin with.
They really need to rebuild her somehow, because she needs it right now, because she is literally jobber fodder for everybody, and that really sucks for her, because, how do you go from this Tian Sha stuff that was freaking awesome, but then kind of slowly died a kind of lame death? And it's just like, well, now we brought her up and we could do something good with her, but we just kind of watered her down to nothing, which really kind of sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's a badass and she's a martial artist. I do think, because producer lady had mentioned it, the idea of a Xia Li versus Ronda match, because of their fighting background, could be really good. But we do need to time it out right, And I think if it's timed out right, if they spent the next month building Xia Li to look like a threat and actually earn herself a shot against Ronda, and Ronda and her had like 20 minutes to do it, and Ronda made Xia Li look like kind of a scary threat, where Ronda's like, oh my God, I can't believe I got out of that one. That could be huge, and that could really set Xia on a really good path, which I'd like, but it's hard to say. And the other thing that's weird about it is I know Xia Li is a Triple H wrestler. He brought her over to NXT because he saw her doing martial arts and convinced her that this would be a good thing. And so for her to still not being used very well here is a little strange, but I think it's going to build into the conversation we're going to have when we get to Raw about the strangeness of a lot of what we're seeing right now. I feel like is all anchored into one concept. But Shotzi won. A lot of weird, sloppy stuff happened in this match. I would say there was at least a half a dozen times where you're watching and you're like, what are they trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, even from a kayfabe sense, what are you trying to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah. The spot that led up to the finish, like Liv not using, like barely connecting on the table and stuff like that. And I'm just like, what was the point of the table then? Didn't even
in the
come
amount
into
of
play.
time. The amount of time it took to set that up, the amount of time that they kept the camera on them as they all kind of laid out during a non-hit, only to go back to the ring and show the last 2 seconds of the finish, was kind of like everyone was lying around for a long time. I was like, did something happen that they said, hey, fuck it, take it home? This is a mess. You know what I mean? Like,
they could have. It just came off so sloppy, very sloppy.
yeah. Yeah.
That's why I kind of wish, like, if they're gonna bring more women back, they need to send them over to SmackDown because they really need some more women over there.
I don't even think that they have a bad roster of women, but they're just not being used well. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, Lacey Evans took the fall there, and that's cool. But Lacey Evans they've rebuilt her a couple of times. She's not bad. You know what I mean? But if you leaned into her character and what it could be, she could be something to see. I mean, you got Shayna over there.
Yeah.
You got Nat. Well, Natty's injured. I mean, you've got a bunch of good talent, but they're just not booked in a way where anything seems meaningful. You know what I mean? Or seems like someone you should be getting to. You know?
Especially when your target is Ronda Rousey. Like, that's not a good sight for a lot of the women when they're like bottom tier and they're like looking to aim up, and then you throw them in there with Ronda, and it's just like, of course I'm not going to believe that they're going to beat Ronda. Like, they've already been booked like pretty shitty, so why the hell would I believe they're going to win anyway?
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, so I don't know that they need somebody on SmackDown so much as they need to be taking their SmackDown people a little more seriously, which is a whole other thing. What do you think of Santos versus Shinsuke for the World Cup Fox? And what do you think about this World Cup for World Cup on Fox? What do you think about this whole World Cup thing anyways? It's all to get a number one contender spot for the Intercontinental Champion, correct?
Yes. They also get a trophy, which is just like, it just feels like they're redoing the trophy that Shane McMahon won. And I mean, it's cool that they're getting, at least there's some kind of stipulation that they're getting a title match in the end, but it's like, I don't know. It's just kind of, I don't really get the purpose of it yet, other than that. But I enjoyed this match. It was actually really good, and I think these two could be a hell of a freaking mid-card title feud down the line if it ever happened. Be awesome.
That's true. That is true. I don't think I care about this World Cup thing either, to be honest. I'd rather it was just a tournament. But I mean, are they doing the World Cup thing because soccer's on Fox this year?
Yes, they literally talked about the soccer game, and I'm just like, so they only did it because of soccer.
It's weird.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. All right. Well, but yeah, it was a good match. All right. LA Knight's in the back. He's cutting his promo. Interrupted by graphics, the whole shebang. And then Bray Wyatt comes over and kind of says, like, hey, I understand what you're going through, X, Y, and Z. But I mean, LA Knight doesn't take to it. Bray Wyatt headbutts him, and now we're going to get LA Knight versus Bray Wyatt. And I don't know that that's what I want from LA Knight in this moment. I think I'd rather,
that's not a good look, really. Like, they're kind of building LA Knight a little bit while still building Bray, but it's like, can we not have LA Knight be the first fucking person? Like,
I know, like, out of everyone, the first one he wants to go for is LA Knight. And I actually think that, I mean, I guess we don't know enough about this LA Knight character to really boil down if he would make a good team member to a Wyatt style faction or not. I don't think he would be terrible, but I think that both of them know how to do everything that you should know how to do.
Mm-hmm. Those two can cut a freaking promo very damn well. Like, holy shit.
Yeah. Oh, man, I don't want to see him.
Yeah, I don't want him to be the first one. Please, no. Like, you could find anybody else that's not LA Knight.
Yeah. I don't know. It's yeah. I don't know, man.
It's
I'm
just
excited
weird.
to
Like,
see them work
WWE's
together,
doing
but
a
you're
lot
right. It's the timing more than anything.
Yeah, WWE's just doing a lot of weird things. Like, as much as it's like we're still kind of like amped that Triple H is there, like he's doing some very strange things. Like as of late, like very confused on a lot of it.
Who should it have been?
That's so tough, especially for SmackDown's roster. That's so tough.
And it's troublesome enough for me already because LA Knight's felt a little aimless in his rebuild. He was really fine with him putting the roster on notice and taking out the male models. But then at this point, he is a little directionless. So I guess you could feed him to Bray, but to what end? And do you think they go back to the Bray mentality of the Fiend, where ultimately everyone who interacted with the Fiend was changed after that? Do you think that part of this is to help the LA Knight character grow into a different direction as well? Like, not that he should be darker or emo or anything like that, but
See, I don't think LA Knight needs anything to do with Bray Wyatt to change himself up. I just don't see him needing like Bray Wyatt to do that. He seems like a guy who's got a lot of really good stuff in his mind that he could do it himself. Like him being the first target for Bray really doesn't do much for LA Knight. Like kind of just puts a halter on it when you're kind of trying to make him feel like something, but it's just like he's just now you're gonna feed him to Bray and just kind of just completely stop all that. Like just let it, if he's gonna refresh himself at any point for anything, he can do it himself. He doesn't need anybody else to do it.
that's what I was thinking. That's why this kind of bothered me a lot. Where it's like, part of me is like, this is amazing. Two of my favorites. They're going to have a match. They might even have a longer program. This is great. But when you look at the character of Bray, there's not a ton of room there for the LA Knight. You know what I mean? And I think LA Knight needs a lot of room. LA Knight should be running through kind of whoever they have as jobbers to really solidify himself as a beast and earning himself up towards like the mid card. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not saying that he can't go straight to the top, because in my mind, I think that LA Knight's a main eventer, but the investment from the fans aren't there yet. Let's not fool ourselves.
Yeah,
So
not yet.
why feed him to Bray? I mean, I guess you can argue Finn Balor was fed to Bray right away, and that seemed like a crazy thing, but I don't know,
That was
man.
kind of during Finn's kind of like stagnant stage. So
Yes.
he was somebody who actually needed, though, almost that interaction with Bray to refresh him.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. I'm like looking forward to it, but I'm not at the same time. Let's see. The World Cup continued with Jinder Mahal against Braun Strowman. I really like seeing Jinder back, and then as soon as Braun came out, I went, "Oh man, like, does nobody like Jinder but me? Like, what's going on here?"
I mean, I'm not crazy for Jinder. I don't know. He's just like every time I see him, I just get terrible PTSD flashbacks of his WWE title run, and I go, "Oh God, stop it!" Like, no, and I just keep sitting there thinking about it, and I'm like, it still came off so awkward. Still thinking that he won the WWE title just to try to draw WWE into India, and it was just very strange to me. Like, it'll always come off weird and awkward and just not that good.
Man. Yeah, I guess. Let's see. Bishop's in the
Braun.
chat. Lacey Evans had one of the best Mae Young showings. Hasn't clicked since. Yeah, and they every now and again they show that like promo class you did with Dusty, and you go, "Wow, this is amazing. She could be so much." And like the idea that even that she could be a female Sergeant Slaughter seemed like a very realistic thing in today's day and age. Like she could have done it great, but fuck. Grimmer says he's going to join Bray, and he also says hi because that's how Grimmer talks.
Yeah, Braun Strowman, I'm kind of not too happy, especially with his recent like freaking spouts on social media there. Like, completely not needed when he said that stuff.
What do you mean, on Twitter?
Yeah, he talked about after the match with Omos how he was like, look what me and Omos did. Like, we didn't have to do that flippy dippy stuff. And I'm like, can you just stop? Why? Like, what was even the reason to do that? Like, when people literally came out at him and were like, all you had to do was literally say we represented super heavyweight wrestling. That's what Will Ospreay said. All you had to do was say we did a really great job representing super heavyweight wrestling and leave it at that. And I'm like, thank you. Why do you got to shit all over the freaking flippy guys? Because ha ha ha, it's fun to shit on the flippy guys. Like,
I think there's actually a reverse mentality here. I think that Braun has had an entire career where everyone undermines everything he does and says he's not a flippy guy. He's got 2 moves. He only does power moves. It's all bullshit. I think he's constantly undermined and trashed all the time. So when he does something he's incredibly proud of and it goes over really well, immaturity takes the better part of him in this one, and he says fuck all you guys whoever said any of that stuff, but he doesn't know how to say that same way. And you know what I mean? I wouldn't be shocked if the whole period of time he was on the indies that his minimum payment was very, very high. And I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of what he heard back was, why would I pay you that much when I can get these 2 flippy guys for half of that? And if he took that real personal, because in his mind he goes, look, big guys do bring a lot to the table, and the IWC is constantly undermining the big guys and the power guys in lieu of the flippy guys. And I think that he takes it real personal. I'm not saying that both sides don't have a point, but
I mean, I think Braun Strowman is probably like one of the best big guys you're going to see nowadays. Like, guy's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
It's like, he doesn't need to be that guy and just immediately start shitting on people because, like, if it's because of him being in control of your narrative, that was his choice, okay? He didn't have to do that shit. So I didn't get why he needed to say that. If he wanted to just come out there and say, hey, we represented super heavyweight wrestling to its freaking fullest in this match, like, so be it. All you do is leave it at that. I didn't need this whole shitting on the flippy guys. Like, again, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't need the acrobats and all this other stuff. Like, it's part of wrestling at this point.
I think wrestling needs all of it, right? But a good wrestling show should have all of it. Should have a lot of stuff, you know?
Yes.
But I do think that both sides, I think, took a lot to heart and took a lot too personal. I do think that. And I do think that the discretion is the better part of valor. And I don't know that anyone's ever said, used the term valor to describe Braun Strowman. So. You know, like, I saw the whole thing and I saw everyone reacting and I was like, I feel like everyone's being overly sensitive here. I feel like he just has a hard time expressing himself, and I feel like he took a lot personal and he wanted to celebrate what he did and hurt a lot of feelings on the way there, and he probably had his feelings hurt a lot in his road back. So I'm just kind of like, all right, well, I think we're all even now. I think we can all just move on. I
just think this World Cup thing is going to end up going to Strowman. Like,
so we can get who's Roman or Braun versus Gunther?
Possibly. Big old Haas fight. Why not at this point?
That'd be pretty cool. And then
the only time we interacted was the Survivor Series tag match. Like, come on.
That's true. And I think you give Gunther the win and make him really impressive. Like, he could chop down a giant.
I mean, he's no freaking small guy in his own right. Like,
that's what I mean.
If he could pick up Braun Strowman in a power bomb, I'd be fucking mind blown.
Dude. Imagine putting over the strength of Gunther by having a powerbomb Braun Strowman for the win.
Freaking batshit crazy.
Yeah, that would be good. And Gunther also doesn't do that flippy dippy shit, you idiot.
Yeah, the flippy dippy shit. I need those guys that's gonna get these hands. Like,
yeah, dude, he's gonna thumb them. We had Zelina and B-Fab get ready for a match, and it was interrupted by the Viking Raiders with Sarah Logan as they beat the shit out of everybody. And Zelina Vega did the most New York thing I'd ever seen, where she saw a crazy woman covered in animal fur and barefoot, and Zelina took off running. Hell out of Dodge. Dip out. We dipping. Yeah, that was the most New York thing I've ever seen. Because anytime I've seen somebody acting aggressive and they're barefoot in the streets, you get the hell out of Dodge, man. You dip.
Yeah.
So
it was awesome, though. I love the Viking Raiders. I love it. And I get why, again, I saw the whole thing, the Twitter exchange of people that were talking about how she looks like Max the Impaler and all that stuff like that. And I was like, okay. And because it's crazy, because I immediately said that when I saw her on SmackDown. I go, she looks like Max the Impaler. I'm like, this is interesting and all, but I was just like, and then I started seeing people just saying like, oh, well, she's got to change her look now. And I'm just like, oh, God. I'm like, fuck. Well, if she could do it, she can do it at this point. Like, I just want to see it. I love this Viking Raider stuff right now. And I'm happy she's back and with them.
yes. Do you think so? Here's my only problem with it, because I agree with you. Viking Raiders are badass. They should be dominant. They should constantly be picking up a motherfucker to throw him at another motherfucker. That was how they were originally described to me by Clump. These guys are so tough. They pick up a motherfucker and throw at him at another motherfucker. And I goes, oh shit, let me see that. But
way to describe that, Clump.
My problem with this is that they came out and decimated LDF. LDF has not had any time to establish themselves as any kind of a threat either. They've been in this one little feud with Hit Row, and then the Viking Raiders come back and just beat the shit out of all of them. And you go, well, fuck, maybe LDF's not that good. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean as much, because this is the same problem we've had with a lot of AEW stuff. It doesn't mean as much if you come in and decimate somebody who has not had a strong showing for a while. The reason breaking a streak is important, and the reason that who's going to beat Roman is so important, is because you've established over time that these people are threats. So when you just have someone win a couple and look strong, and then they immediately get their ass handed to them by somebody, you don't go, oh, that new person must be so strong. You go, no, maybe that first person had a couple lucky flukes. You know what I mean? Just like there's... They haven't built LDF enough, and they've already built Viking Raiders in the past as being a threat, so at least give LDF time to be viewed as somebody who can take down a threat, you know? Like, you just see it and you go, oh, shit, they're going to get their ass kicked.
You know? Hit Row's not even in, is pretty much in the same freaking boat there. Like, they haven't really done much since coming back.
And in defense, Grim Reaper says the same thing, too, about the Viking Raiders. He goes, they've stopped and started so many times. They really want them to have a strong run this time. They deserve it. And I agree with that, too. That's what I'm saying, is like you're having to have this stacked tag team roster, but you're not taking the time to build any of the tag teams to be massive, credible threats, except for the Usos. So now you just have a bunch of, like, Tweedledees and Tweedledums bumping into each other in the playground, and we're supposed to think one of them's going to take down the Usos eventually? Like, bring in some jobbers and just have all these teams be beating up jobbers until they have to go up against each other. And you go, well, they're on a 30 match win streak. This one's on a 29 match win streak. Oh shit. Now they're going to collide. At this point, it's like they've had 2 matches. They won one and lost one. So must be good. And you go, fuck.
Yeah.
So I just feel like there's a lot of misses here, just because like it's almost like they're booking for what should have been booked in the past and not for what's actually been on TV. You know what I mean?
That's pretty fitting. Like, that sounds about right. Like, even with the LDF thing, like, I'm as much as I liked the Escobar and Nakamura match earlier, like, again, they fell into that trope of just, why does Santos need them to keep helping him all the time? Like, it's just like way too over excessive here again.
Yeah. But again, 3 teams that I like and 3 teams I'm excited to see do stuff. And at this point, it feels like bumper cars. It doesn't feel like
Yeah.
a battle of titans. It's really weird, and I want these teams to be doing stuff. I think that the addition of Sarah to Vikings, you have Legado with Zelina, you have Rhea and Judgment Day. I love that we are having many factions with a woman involved. We're not keeping all the stories so separate. BFAB hit row. My apologies. I should have said that one right away. That was obviously what the match was. But you're no longer having the show split by here's where the men are, here's where the women are, and never shall they cross unless it's romantic, which they're doing with Emma and Madcap already.
Yeah, I don't get why they went there with that already.
Hey, did we get the Emma versus Xia Li match? Weren't we supposed to get that?
No, that's next week. That's coming up this week, I should say.
But last week they cut the promo saying, I'm going to see you next week. She didn't say, I'll see you in 3 weeks.
I don't know. They probably scrapped it already. They even continue the Emma thing. They literally just said, she had her go, where's Madcap Moss? And then that was it. Little interaction with Xia, and that was just done, over with.
She gets her ass handed to her by Ronda in a really weird and awkward match. It was not great. She has an awkward promo in the back where Xia Li comes out and out-talks her, which is crazy.
It's just crazy.
She shows up in the back and asks Shotzi where Madcap is. What the fuck are we watching with Emma? You know what I mean?
Like,
this is the big return.
Freaking just flatlined.
It's crazy, dude. Like, there's... Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Blue Boyd's in the chat saying, trying to figure out what Emma is good at. And look, in defense of Emma, I don't know that we're getting the opportunity to see what she's good at when we put her in these situations. You know what I mean?
That's the bad thing, because she kind of went through that whole thing the first time.
Yes.
We didn't get to see what she was capable of, and then they let her go.
And then it made you think, like, hey, maybe we did see everything she was capable of, and they actually hid what was even worse, and maybe she's really, really bad. And then she comes back, and they're showing all this stuff, and you go, maybe she is bad. I'm under the impression that she is likely good. If she wouldn't be in the industry as long as she has, consistently working. But I'm also a consumer of what you show me, and you're selling me that this person is not good and never has been, and you're not highlighting anything they're good at or protecting them to show them looking stronger than maybe they even are. It's just crazy to me.
Yes.
Oh my God. Speaking of farts, the end of the show had Roman coming out, talking his shit. Sammy absent again. I'm not sure what for. They did say it was personal reasons on the show, and he was tweeting things about Sammy for Syria and something that seemed kind of religious. So to me, it seems possible it actually is quite personal and nobody's business. But Bloodline, Brawling Brutes, they clash. Drew McIntyre comes out, joins the fray. So now we're going to get the Bloodline against the Brawling Brutes. And Drew, obviously with the addition of Sammy, you already have 5 for the Bloodline. I was going to say that the easiest shoe-in to me to make it work, even though he's not from the UK, would have been Kevin Owens. He's always had an issue with Roman. His issues with Sammy are back and forth. KO is also the one he told Sammy he looked embarrassing by being in the Bloodline. So you could have a whole promo where he's all like, is this embarrassing, with an honorary Ooze shirt?
He loves to fight. Like,
imagine they made a KO shirt that said honorary douche. You know?
That's it. Kevin,
you could never be an honorary.
I hope you hear that. Freaking make it happen.
Yeah, be amazing. But word out now is that he got hurt. Kevin Owens got hurt at a live show, and now he's out. And that sucked, because to me, I felt like that he'd even said something recently somewhere that he was close to coming back, that it was going to be really cool. And you think about the first War Games match on the big show, and you think about all the War Games matches in NXT, and the one time that team was going up against the Undisputed Era and they needed a 5th member and they weren't sure who to get, they patched in Kevin Owens, because Kevin Owens was like, I just want to be in a War Games, man.
I loved that whole freaking moment. That was awesome.
It was all great. And we have that same Kevin Owens back now. The idea that there was a War Games that he could have been in, I'm sure he was vying for it one way or the other. You know what I mean? Like, that had to be his spot for the taking. But since he's injured and since it sounds like he probably won't be healed in time for the event, because it's like, what, in a week? Who do you think they're going to get now? In a perfect world, I would have said Cesaro.
Yeah, that's so tough. Kevin Owens was my like shoe-in immediately, and with Kevin out, I just can't figure out who they would get. The only person I would say maybe to just throw people off is like Rey Mysterio, but I don't really know because I know he's had the past with Roman and stuff, so you kind of play off that a little bit, but I don't really know. Like, I can't really figure out a lock-in that would really make sense to team with Sheamus, Drew, and the rest of the Brawling Brutes. Just...
yeah, I can't think of anybody. Except if you wanted to bring up some NXT UK guys. Like, you could bring in a Tyler Bate. He could have a cool showing. You could bring in Ilya Dragunov. That could be cool. But apart from trying to shoehorn someone from NXT UK who really doesn't have much history with anybody in those groups, except for Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne having an history, but yeah, I don't know.
so
You could push Matt Riddle. You could make that connection. Riddle and Pete Dunne were tag team champions in NXT. And Riddle's obviously always had an issue with Roman.
It makes sense, but like, I don't know. He's too busy. He seems like he's too busy playing around with Elias and all this stuff. So
that's true too.
It's so tough to figure that out. Like, I'm trying to think of the rosters and who could actually do it, but it's like I really don't have a like immediate, like, you can just lock this in right here and there's your pick. Like, it's so tough to choose.
Yeah, we'll see. So, the overall feeling of Raw. How did you feel about this Raw on whole? That's an entire unit.
To be honest, I don't know. It just felt like cruise control. It just felt very
phoned in.
I don't really have like much to really say about it. Like, it was just like there. That was it. Like, it really feels like we just locked it in gear and we're like, we're going to Survivor Series, and if whatever happens on the show happens at this point.
That's what it felt like. And so I was thinking about it because I saw somebody else saying it didn't feel like it was hitting quite right. Producer lady saw most of it before I got home because of the way that my schedule works, and she was like, something about it hasn't seemed to click. But when you also look at it on paper, Mustafa Ali versus Bobby Lashley, you had Seth Rollins talking shit to Bobby, you had Bobby talking shit. I mean, Tamina versus Mia Yim, Gable and Riddle, like Chad Gable and Matt Riddle, like that's something that you should feel like you would go, holy shit, right? And I'm not saying any of these matches were bad. I'm just saying, looking on paper, Shelton Benjamin in a match against Dominic Mysterio, that sounds like it could be awesome. Dana Brooke having a moment out there with Io Sky, Theory and Ziggler. Are you kidding? You know what I mean? These are matches that we would have begged for at a certain point, and they're all just kind of here. And then the main event, Seth Rollins for Finn Balor, and I'm finding myself during the main event even halfway paying attention because I'm like, well, Seth's gonna win. And I mean, that was the main event of a SummerSlam not that long ago, and it was the biggest build, and it was a tournament build, and it still felt like an important everything, right? I feel like what we're going through, I want you to tell me if I'm wrong, is I feel that as avid fans, not even, I wouldn't say, I mean, although I would think the argument would apply for hardcore fans, but I would say even avid fans who just watch the shows all the time, maybe they don't catch every week, maybe they don't catch everything that's not WWE, maybe they just watch WWE, but they watch it most of the time, let's say 2 times a month minimum. I think we all know that the build to Survivor Series is always staticky. It's the end of the build, right? Because right after Survivor Series, what are we doing? We're building to Rumble. What's Rumble? The day one of the road to WrestleMania. But really, the road to WrestleMania starts in the build to the Rumble because you want the guy in the Rumble to get to the WrestleMania, right?
Yes.
So I feel like that Survivor Series is the most casual fan-based pay-per-view they put on every year. Typically, the last number of years, it's been really easy to say that because it's champion versus champion, Raw versus SmackDown. So easy to put that on in front of your friends and family as you guys hang out during this week of Thanksgiving when everyone's in town and say, hey, I want to watch my wrestling. And then they go, oh, what's the deal with this one? Oh, he's the champion on one show and the other one's the champion on another show. So they're gonna fight, see who's the best champion. If you can't describe the storyline in 30 seconds to get your friends hooked, you know what I mean? What's the point of Survivor Series?
Yeah.
So with this one, it feels like, hey, we got to get to Survivor Series. This feels like a push to get to Survivor Series. And I feel like that a lot of what we're seeing is phoned in because they just have to get to Survivor Series. I feel like all the plans they've been making are for after Survivor Series getting to Mania. I have a hunch that after Survivor Series, it's all going to pick up and we're going to have such an incredible build to Mania because I feel like the reason we're not seeing anything interesting here is because all their efforts are for after the fact. Look, it's just 2 weeks. Just get through these 2 weeks, get to Survivor Series. We'll put on a good show there where people can watch it with their friends, but we're getting to Mania, you know?
Yes.
What do you think of Tamina versus Mia Yim?
I don't know. Just because the show was feeling so lackluster, like it was so hard to get into it.
It felt like it didn't belong in here either.
Yeah. My main thing when just after the whole show ended, the only thing it felt like to me was this Monday Night Raw is 85% main event, 15% Monday Night Raw. And it just came off so... That's all it felt like, because it felt like main event.
Yeah.
And that was it. It just kind of had person versus other person, like random people, and it was just like there. And that was it.
What do you think about where we're at now with... I know that you weren't a big fan of it, but you are a big fan of Gargano. Do you think that what they're doing now with Miz and Dexter and Johnny, do you think it's getting any better even?
No. And, you know me, I'm an avid Johnny Gargano fan, but this fell off quick. This fell off quick. Like, Johnny just resorting back to trying to be funny. And, Miz, the Dexter stuff was doing it for me. And it was like, it didn't need Johnny.
Yeah.
It really didn't need Johnny. But then it's just like, they wrote Dexter off, having him getting beat up by the Miz. And that was just it. Like, it just felt like everything got put on pause just so they could drag Gargano back into it because, hey, remember they were in the way together, and just isn't working.
I also think that I feel like we're seeing like a Roman Reigns style push for Johnny. We're going to pretend he's massively over regardless of what the fans' reaction is live. I don't like that Gargano is in the ring and he decides he will make the stipulation that if Miz loses, Dexter gets a WWE contract.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck are you to make that decision? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he didn't even say, hey, I was talking to Adam Pearce and he's not too keen on it, but I got him to agree if you will. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't even this whole thing. It was just all like, what do you say you do this? And Miz says, you're on. And I'm sitting there going like, who the fuck's in the back saying, who said you guys get to decide what contracts go out?
Yeah, this is the reason why I wish we still had on-screen authority figures. Like, just comes off weird when somebody's standing there and goes, I talked to WWE management. Well, who the fuck did you go and talk to? Did you fly all the way out to Stamford and talk to those guys? Did you talk to whoever the fuck was backstage? Like, did you call up Triple H and say, hey, do you want to make this match for me? Like,
yeah, dude, so much of this was kind of like weird. Tamina and Mia Yim could have been on main event. And I know the whole story was supposed to be people scouting her and watching her. But she also like came back and kind of just did okay in one match. And you're saying like she's like this sought after entity already. Like, It's just weird. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying is they keep booking all these things right now, like as though the past didn't happen the way that it did. It happened the way they wished it had. And you go, yeah, well, in a perfect world, Mia Yim would have never left, and she would have established herself over the past year or two as a force and some extreme rules type. And you go, yeah, but that's not what happened. And she came back and had kind of a weird match with Tamina. And everyone's like, ooh, we need her on our team. I was like, I don't fucking get it.
They're just doing a lot of cross pollination with feuds too. It's just weird. Like,
yeah. But also when you look at it from the outside looking in, or just like scoping it out, you had Mustafa Ali in a match. Tamina. You had Shelton Benjamin, Dana Brooke, Akira Tozawa, Dolph Ziggler. You had a lot of people who we don't see on TV very much in this show. You know what it almost felt like? It almost felt like that time that the plane got stuck in Saudi Arabia and they had to like bring a bunch of people up who you don't normally see, like from NXT, to put together a show. Mm-hmm. Half of the show was people we never see. So maybe that's why it was hard to get invested in it a bunch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe because there just was no purpose that they had to be put on TV. They were just put on TV. Like,
yeah, it was super shoehorned. Although I think Shelton Benjamin's doing awesome. His promos he's been having are so good.
My God. I don't know. It just feels like they're not really doing much like that's really kind of drawing me in. I love Shelton Benjamin. Guy is fantastic. But it's like he just keeps having these like mid-tier matches, right? Like recently, and it just really sucks.
Yeah. I also didn't understand why we had Dana Brooke versus Io Sky. I never saw anything that would like lead me to believe they had some sort of animosity or there needed to be a match or.
What's that whole thing with Damage Control? How they're just beating up Dana Brooke because we're beating up Dana Brooke.
But then they get their asses handed to them by everybody else.
Yeah.
It's just weird, man. Just so much of this was weird. Although, let's talk about some stuff that went really fucking well. Austin Theory. What'd you think about his career-saving promo? Where he gave reason and credence to the cash in the way that it was.
To be honest with you, I really wasn't. I wasn't feeling it. Just by him, like he just backed up the fact that it was kind of just really lackluster. Like I just couldn't. As soon as he finished, the first thing I said was that just felt like it didn't even make it feel any better. It just made him feel like he was stupid. Like he literally had the opportunity to beat Seth anyway by not cashing in. It was literally it was an open challenge. All he had to do was face Seth. He didn't have to waste money in the bank on it. Like, it just didn't really make it feel any better to me.
I feel like that it fixed a lot of the problems with it. Because one, it's like, why would he cash in on the U.S. title? Well, because Roman is so protected. And he had tried and failed a number of times. So what can I do? Well, maybe I can go off one of the most prolific champions this company's had in the past 10 years. The reason I would say that as dumb as the open challenge thing is, he didn't make the argument there necessarily. But you could easily make the argument that Seth didn't have to follow through with an open challenge. He has to follow through with Money in the Bank. You know what I mean? If they had gotten Seth up and said, hey, do you want to fight him? It's the open challenge. You want me to ring the bell? He could just, no, I just got my ass kicked. Why would I do an open challenge now? Which they didn't play that through, but you could make the argument that that is a believable aspect as to why you might cash in because it forces Seth to put it up. It also potentially, if your concept is that I'm going to take out this amazing champion, then yeah, maybe you cash in on him to get the title from him. So then he can come after you and you can double down and beat him again. If I do this, I get him twice.
It's like what they did with Lashley. It literally would have been the same thing like they did with Lashley. They had Lashley get beaten up just so Seth could come out and he's like, I got beaten up. I don't need to fight you. And then Seth freaking uses like enough to force him to fight. Like that would have been the same thing. Theory probably would have done the same thing. He would have came out there and go, "It's an open challenge. You said you want to be a fighting champion. Get in here." And then Seth would have ran in there. Like,
No, Seth could have easily been like, no, I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? Like, the babyface would have had
do it too, but Lashley freaking suckered up and went in there. Like,
yeah,
actually would have made Seth look like a puss. Like, come on. It's just way too much rehashing. And it just came off again. That Money in the Bank sour was such a sour way to end the show. To me, it just did not do it. The fact that he went through all that to cash in Money in the Bank on a mid-card championship because Roman's holding the WWE title hostage is just utterly ridiculous. The fact that he couldn't even cash it in on a mid-card title just dumbfounds me, like really does. And it just comes off as this is the problem here. Roman needs to drop that title. Like, Theory to me could have been WWE champion. If that title wasn't being locked in on Reigns, Theory could have won the WWE title and it would have been well worth it. But just, I don't know. This just didn't feel like it did much to really make up for the fact that it was such a sour way to end a show.
They are like clearly building Lashley to be like a Brock Lesnar type. They want him to be this unstoppable force, beast incarnate type. I mean, they're feeding him everyone. He's just dominating and decimating Mustafa Ali every week, which I find hysterical. He beat the shit out of Seth Rollins like crazy. He beat the shit out of Brock Lesnar, so much so that after he loses the match, he then still doubles down and looks stronger than Brock. He lost the match on paper, but when you watch the match, you're like, dude, Brock is the man. He just beat the shit out of or Bobby's the man. He just beat the shit out of Brock. With Theory, he's got every reason to think he should be able to cash it in on, like, Theory was another sacrifice to Bobby. They're really painting up Bobby to be what Brock was in 2005-ish and stuff. It sucks that he was fed that way, but he was. I think that this gave a legitimacy to the thought behind the character on why he would think it would be fine. Also, what we're seeing is he got screwed out of it because of Bobby. That now we're seeing this angry Austin Theory. He's not coming out with the cell phone anymore. He's not doing selfies. He's proving a point. He's tired of everyone saying that he's going to be the next and he's the now. Like, we got a whole new Austin Theory out of all of this, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's just the promo didn't really do it for me, but like I said, I'm going to give it, see what else comes in the next like few weeks, because that just him going out there and pretty much just backing up the fact that, you know, the problem right now is Reigns holding that title like he is and not freaking having it on the show. Just, I don't know. It just came off really dumb. It just sounded awful listening to him go, the only thing I could do is challenge for the United States title. Because even like when Seth was like, something about the United States title feels different. And I'm like, yeah, because it's your only fucking championship. It's the only reason why it feels different. Like,
sounds like you had thoughts before listening to the promo and didn't really listen to it very, like, to intake what it was. That's what it really sounds like to me, if I'm being honest. You hated the angle so much that regardless of what he said, you were going to be unhappy with it. Because I think if you'd given him a shot, I think you would have seen a lot in this promo that was remarkable.
I'll have to go back and listen to it because, like I said, just hearing him go out there and say that he couldn't do it on Roman, when I'm just like, you could do it on Roman. If he didn't always have somebody to protect him every time, Theory could have done it. And it's just like the fact that he had to resort to using it on a mid-card title that he literally could have just won in an open challenge. It left such a sour taste in my mouth. And it's like, but again, I want to see what they got in store and see if it'll kind of sway me back to it.
Dude, and that match you had with Ziggler was awesome.
Fucking awesome. My God. More Dolph Ziggler on TV, please.
Yeah, he's so good. It's crazy. But yeah, I think you're being really unfair to what Theory did there, because I don't think you ever gave it a fair shake. And I think if you went back and listened to it to see what he's given you, he gave you an entire character arc in one promo and completely changed his entire character up 180 to be able to make sense of it all. And I think that it did enough for us to move forward and say, okay, well, what's Austin Theory got now? He's not the buried guy he was when the show went off the air last week. He's a totally different guy now.
I definitely don't think he's buried. I just think it made him look fucking stupid sometimes, like just to the most point.
Sure. But also, let's say you do something stupid in general, you may try to defend it in a way, correct? Like, you don't want to be stupid. So if you do something stupid, you're going to come back the next week and give a rationale to it. And maybe your attitude's different because you feel stupid. So maybe even from an underlying aspect, maybe we're getting an angrier, upset Theory because he feels like he did something really stupid in kayfabe and he doesn't want it chalked up to him being a young kid. He's got a chip on his shoulder now. I'm a dumb young kid and now everyone else is right. And I can't have that. You know what I mean? Plus, there's a lot more to it in that promo itself about who he is and how he got there. So I think it's worth another look.
Yeah, like I said, I'll give it some time, see if it sways me in.
Corbin versus Tozawa. I don't know who we were trying to build here. Why is Corbin having these long competitive matches with these tiny jobbers? Every match he's had since he's had JBL on there, the focus has shifted to JBL because Baron's in these matches against people that no one is hyper invested in, and they're long competitive matches. Corbin doesn't look unstoppable. He looks easily stoppable.
Yes, my brother literally said the same thing. He goes, why is Tozawa getting so much offense in? Yeah. And I didn't get it either. Like, I was just like, yeah, I'm not locked in on the Corbin thing because it just feels like Happy Corbin still. And that to me just is my immediate turnoff because it really feels like nothing different. It still feels like Happy Corbin. They just added JBL and said, this will take the attention off the fact that it's still the same character. Like,
right. But Happy Corbin had competitive matches with these people. Lone Wolf did not. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to change up Corbin and give him a new presentation, part of the reason why it feels so much like Happy Corbin is because he's having the same long matches with the same mid-card jobbers. And if he came back and he was doing and saying the same things we're seeing him say and do, but the matches he had were short and powerful, you go, God damn, this is a vicious dude. Like, this isn't too far away from the APA. You know what I mean? Like, it would feel different in any way, but right now it's not. And Tozawa, I didn't know it was halfway through the
match. That's why I think it should have been him going back to Lone Wolf, because it would have been, look at me, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to fucking wreck you, instead of, oh, hey, you got a chance to beat me here. Like,
I think he was
Lone Wolf, he would have been there and just been cool.
Like, he doesn't need to be Lone Wolf to wrestle like Lone Wolf. Like, if he had the same presentation but was wrestling closer to what he was wrestling like when he was the Lone Wolf, but with JBL in his corner, you go, there's like, this is, I think, where the magic is. He's more intense. He's cooler. He's a badass. And then backstage, he's still more gregarious, and he's doing the fun poker skits and smoking Cohiba cigars, or not Cohibas. He had
Yeah, I didn't get why Tozawa had so much offense though.
The talisman.
Yeah, I just didn't get that though. Why Tozawa was getting so much offense? Like, don't get me wrong, I like Tozawa, I really do.
Yeah, I like
and it was good to actually see him do stuff.
Yeah,
but like, they should have cut him off at a certain point because he just kept getting offense and offense and offense, and it was just like, you're really supposed to be making Corbin look like the freaking threat here, and now you're just making it look like Tozawa is fucking hard to beat. Like,
yeah, it was crazy. And now, so right after the show, Tozawa posted a picture of his gi that he's been wrestling in, kind of like folded up on the bed, and it just said "thank you" period. So now there's a lot of speculation that he's done. He's no longer going to be wrestling with the company, which I wouldn't have a problem with. I could see him in a Takamichi Noku kind of sense, where he had his fun run in WWE and he had good matches with good people, but really to reclaim his legitimacy and badassness, he had to go back to Japan to do that. I could see a very similar thing for Tozawa, which I wouldn't have a problem with. But I also don't think that's a reason why you have. I don't think that's the reason why you have him carry on with Corbin like this. I think that's when you would put him in a match against, say Gargano, and the two of them could have had a really good competitive match. And you go, that's pretty cool. Tozawa's last match against a Gargano, really nice little technical thing. Put him in there with a Chad Gable where they can do a good match, but you're not sacrificing anyone's build. You know what I mean? Like, this felt like it's sacrificing Baron Corbin's build towards it, and it was a little weird. Yeah. Unless the two of them have always wanted to wrestle. Like, that's possible. Can you imagine? Corbin's like, they're like, hey, who have you always wanted to wrestle? He's like, Tozawa. You know what I mean? Or Tozawa's all like, hey, it's really my last night. And they go, oh. Hey,
Corbin works pretty well with the little guys. Like, he's like, I still remember his stuff with Kalisto, and that was actually really good. So,
yeah, that was great.
But yeah, Tozawa, it's almost like they kind of want to, if this is Tozawa's done with WWE, it's almost like they wanted to show you that he was like, he's not just this goofy freaking, oh, look, he's a ninja, ha ha ha, thing. They were just like, he could do something, but it was like, again, weird that it was at the expense of the Corbin character.
Yeah, that was the only thing I had a problem with. Because like you said, it was really cool to see him wrestle like that. But also, when we're trying to build Corbin, there's been too many Corbin segments where the focus has been on JBL. Like, JBL should be adding to, not overshadowing.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm sure that that's JBL's intent, is to add to and not overshadow. But when you're putting Corbin in all these long matches with people who we've been told over and over again by their booking that they're not that good, it starts to really take the shine off of Corbin, and you start going like, oh, maybe he's not as good as I thought. Maybe JBL's teaching isn't that good. Do you think there's any possibility it's leading towards a Corbin versus JBL match? JBL can have a retirement match against a Corbin, and you can put him down?
Then it'd be interesting, I guess. Like,
I don't think I would hate it.
JBL could still go, I guess.
I don't know. I don't understand contracts.
I don't either.
And then Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. Oh, yeah, OC and Judgment Day came out and did all that. The match was good.
Yes.
But it also felt like for no reason.
It just ended up being another Judgment Day match. It's literally what every Judgment Day match has been. They get involved. Chaos breaks out. They either win or lose.
Yeah. I am liking what Mysterio's doing. Dominic, I liked his whole thing with him and Priest in the back. Where fucking Dominic was just being... Huh? I know, dude. Dominic was being
so bad to punch him in the mouth. So bad. Like, my God.
Dude, what an annoying prick Dominic was being. Just talking all that shit. And then Shelton's like, fuck. And then was it Damien walking in between them? And Dominic's just behind Damien, just like, yeah, what he said. Like, what a little prick, dude.
God.
It was remarkable.
So
I was like, oh, he's so hateable.
He's so annoying. You just he has the most punchable face so much. Like, you could just tell Shelton was like, if he wasn't right here, right now, just.
Dude, that segment was perfect. Everyone in there did such an awesome job. And I wanted to punch Dominic so hard. He's such a little prick. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Are you excited about anything going into Survivor Series?
I'm kind of looking forward to the men's, pretty much the War Games matches for the most part. Like, women's one is still kind of interesting. Like, I'm still kind of like, I didn't get why they, like I said, cross-pollinated the Mia and Rhea stuff in there with the damage control stuff. It was just, didn't really understand that, but like, still looking forward to it.
Who do you think is going to be the final member of Bianca's team?
I don't know. There's something about, I've been locking it in, and I still think it's going to be Becky. I think Becky will be
a really good chance it's Becky.
I do too. Like, she's been my like strong number one pick because it just makes sense because she's involved with this damage control stuff. That's the only reason why.
you get a moment where you have a stare down of Becky and Bailey. Like that would be coming.
The only other choice I could think of is Beth. But it's just like the only thing that she would be involved in is the Rhea stuff. But it's just like a lot of people, like I've had the whole conversation with my brother. He keeps saying that it's over with the Edge and Beth stuff, but then they started talking about it on Raw, and I was just like, so it's not over. Like, it's either going to be Beth coming back or Becky coming back. My wild guess. My dark horse pick is like, with all the talk of Tegan Knox coming back, was her, but because of her past with Dakota.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. She just feels like she doesn't feel like she would fit in that whole situation there. Just because she's got the past with Dakota, she doesn't have anything else with everybody else. Like, my strong picks are Beth or Becky.
I guess I could see Beth because of the Rhea shit. I think so. Beth would be good. The only other one that I thought they kind of hinted at was the possibility of Carmella, because Bianca had said, if you think our team looks good now, wait till you see our final member. And so the concept of the most beautiful woman in WWE, if you're going off of like a little on the nose, how good we look, that's possible. I'm not saying that that's the shoe-in, but it wouldn't shock me. And she would be a good team member. She would put on she'd be an awesome addition. But as far as story goes, a Becky or Beth makes more sense.
It all depends again for Becky, especially. It just depends if she's good to go here, because we haven't heard anything about if she's like good. Because like I said, she was on Young Rock, she wasn't in the Sling. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's tough. Like, she's still my like top pick basically compared to Beth, but Beth, to me, would not surprise me.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. You looking forward to Ronda versus Shotzi?
A little bit, I guess, just to see if Shotzi can have a good showing in there at least.
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't know if I'd say I'm excited, but there's a lot of anticipation towards it. I want to see Shotzi do well more than anything. AJ Styles versus Finn Balor.
I mean, again, like, I haven't been the craziest on the Judgment Day stuff. Their last one, their only one-on-one match against each other was fantastic. So wouldn't be surprised if this one is just as awesome, if not better.
I do think that AJ and Finn specifically are really heavy storytellers. Like, they're really into storytelling. Mm-hmm. I think that as much as we've had issues with some of the things that have happened along the way, I do think that Gallows and Anderson also think a lot about story. I think they're having a lot of fun. I don't think they take it as seriously, but I do think they consider a lot. I think the same for Damian and Dominic. Dominic is a crazy good storyteller that we're finding out. Where he lacks in his ability to knock some stuff out, which, by the way, I think some of the times he's a little sloppy with like the Three Amigos. I think he is on purpose. I think he could definitely do it better, but they boo me when I do it bad.
That's pretty funny.
I could see him saying that. So with that in mind, I think that it's going to be an awesome segment. I don't know if we're going to get a full-on bell-to-bell classic, but I think we're going to get a lot of story in it. You know what I mean?
Could see it.
Those are literally the only matches they have officially announced as of this moment, and the show's in 10 days. The women's War Games, Ronda Shotzi, and AJ Balor. They haven't even officially announced that they're getting a War Games of the Bloodline versus anybody. We just know because it's got to, right?
Not after what happened on SmackDown. It's like kind of obvious now that that's because I honestly thought the Judgment Day was going to be the War Games match, but then they said it was 5-on-5, and I'm just like, well, maybe it is going to be Bloodline.
Yeah, me too. So we'll see. We will see, but I do think that there is a slump in excitement because we're all letting the air out of the room as we start to build towards Rumble, because that's when we all get excited about. Rumble is the most hardcore wrestling fan-centric pay-per-view of the year. That's why every hardcore fan says, you might not believe it, but my favorite pay-per-view is Royal Rumble. Well, yes, I do believe it because it's the one that's catered to you. And then they also say that the most casual fan one is the Rumble because it's so good and has so many people. And those are people just their head up their own asses. The most casual one is Survivor Series. They phone it in every year. I think it's part of the plan. If I'm being cynical, I wouldn't be shocked if the idea is all like, hey, phone it in through Survivor Series, but get there and put on a good show because it'll let the air out of the room. It's the Carmella effect on Becky's return. Send Carmella out there to let the air out of the room. Carmella, go out there and ham it up so much that everyone just feels like, oh no, this is what we're getting. Because when the music hits, the place will come unglued. There'll be a pause as the entire stadium breathes in just to scream. You know what I mean? And I feel like that when you watch WWE long enough, that's the impression I get for Survivor Series. They're letting the air out of the room because they want you to get to Rumble and need it to be good, and they're going to deliver. So I think this is the toughest part of every year as a wrestling fan, getting through Survivor Series, and we have to stay optimistic and say yes, but. And, but that's our role as wrestling fans, to get through Survivor Series with some semblance of excitement, looking forward to Mania. We have to look towards Mania now because it's going to be a rough couple weeks. That's exactly why they start leaking video of Stone Cold working out right now. Because they know, look, wrestling fans need something to hold on to because we're going to give them a bunch of shit here for the next little bit.
That's just crazy still.
Look, it's Stone Cold's working out again.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
This WrestleMania is going to be crazy. All the talk about Cena possibly coming back, The Rock possibly facing Roman, Stone Cold coming back for another wrestling match.
So I know at the time I said that was the perfect retirement for Stone Cold, and it was. But do you think its bigger purpose was the perfect retirement for Vince? Going out at the hands of Stone Cold?
Could be. It seems that way now. They played it off as night one, here's Austin having one more match finally. And it's just he comes out after that, after Pat McAfee, and just has Vince gets his first and only win at WrestleMania. Pat puts him over, puts Vince over because he loves Vince, and then all of a sudden Austin gets to finish, wrap it up, gets to wrap his whole story up with Vince by stunning him one more time.
And laughing at him.
Couldn't be any more perfect than that.
So if we do get one more Stone Cold match, so it's truly his retirement match, who do you think it should be against? Because I've seen a lot of really bad ideas out there.
God, what kind of ideas have we been picking?
The first one I saw that a lot of people were like, we have to do it, was CM Punk. And I don't want any of that.
That would be immediate thumbs down.
That would be purely and completely isolated in trying to do something for CM Punk. CM Punk's the only one who would care or want it or benefit from it. So fuck that. I got no room for that. Bishop says 3 times WB Hall of Famer Pat McAfee. We could do McAfee versus Austin. It wouldn't bother me. I mean, we got to have McAfee come back for something big, right?
Pat brings up the fact he's like, I am not going to let you live down that stunner you gave me at WrestleMania.
Yeah. We already know Logan Paul challenged Cena, so that's pretty much done deal. Logan Paul's never not gotten the match he's asked for in any field. I'm saying even as a boxer, he's always gotten the fight he wanted. So he already called out Cena, which I'm fine with. I think you could do more with Cena than Logan Paul, but I have no problem with it, especially if Cena thinks he's got more than one more in him. Blue Boyd says Bad Bunny as a Stone Cold. Don't go on. I've seen a lot of people say you bring back The Rock for Stone Cold, you bring back Cena for Stone Cold, and I'm like, no. I'd rather see Stone Cold with somebody else. I just don't know who, because Owens was the big one. He was the big dream match for Stone Cold, and we got it, and it was everything we wanted it to be. I could see them doing a second one that Owens gets to win, but I don't see him needing it by any means. But I could see them doing it. That's all.
It's so tough. I can't really like. Again, this is another one of those. I can't really pick a name like that would solidify making sense for Stone Cold to face, other than a rival he's already fought. Like,
yeah, I just don't want him against a rival. Because the problem with bringing back Stone Cold to do The Rock again, if you actually were talking about that seriously, is that we literally have 3 of those in the books in their prime. Why revisit it when neither of you guys are in your prime? When you can still get it done, but you're not in your prime, you put over the next crew, because the next crew is in their prime and they can help you get it done. We already have prime Rock and Stone Cold. I don't want them anywhere near each other in that regard. Blue Void says Sami Zayn versus Stone Cold could be fun because Sammy's an amazing storyteller. But let me tell you, let's wrap it up on this fantasy booking, which I know Bishop loves to do. I wanted to get this out there so you heard it here first. Here's kind of my thought that we could do, because people say Rock and Roman is an inevitability. And I don't disagree with that. I think that that's amazing fantasy booking. Let's do it. If you do Rock and Roman, you're doing it night 2 and you're doing it for a title. And anyone who says, well, it doesn't need the title. No shit, it doesn't need it, but it makes it bigger if it has it. Brock and Roman didn't need both titles, but Roman's bigger than ever because it had it. Not that it couldn't be big without it, but it can be bigger. And I'm all about bigger. So put the Rock and Roman in there for the title. Make Triple H come out and say, hey, we've been trying to do a lot here, and I feel like you're really hindering a lot of these guys' options here. You need to put up both titles on both nights. We'll do one title one night, one title the next night. Night 1, you're putting up the world title. Roman Reigns for the first person ever to main event 2 WrestleManias night after night. Night 2, he's going to put up the Universal title. That will be against The Rock, because The Rock comes in and says, hey, you jabroni, I'm here to eat your pie from your table and be the chief of the table.
I'm here to eat your pie.
Yep. And it's the easiest way to book that. You say you're the tribal chief, you're the head of the table, but you have all this fighting at your table. How can you be the head of a table that's got nothing but conflict on the inside of it and still show some semblance of pride? You brought in Sami Zayn over here just to upset your cousins, not to unify anybody. I'm going to teach you how to be the real head of the table. Boom, done.
Wow.
Fast forward over to Royal Rumble. Final 4. Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Jey Uso. Sami and Jey look at each other, and Sami smiles and says, let's take them out. Kevin Owens looks at Sami and says, what is wrong with you? He hates you. And when he's yelling at Kevin Owens, Jey chucks Sami Zayn right out and says, and stay out. While he's yelling at Sami, KO flips Jey over. Right behind him comes Cody Rhodes, knocks him out. You get Cody for the title over there. However, you could also do it where Sami Zayn wins the Rumble, and The Rock costs Roman the match night 1. Comes out and rock bottoms Roman. Sami becomes the winner. He's confused. He's excited. The crowd's going nuts, and they got to deal with this on Monday. You know what I mean? And then you can even have Roman beat The Rock and say, look, I put you out. You know? Then you have Roman look at Sami. Hey, just give me my title back, man. And Sami's like, look, I really want to. But the thing is, no. So I got 2 different outcomes for the Royal Rumble. Cody or Sami. I think those are the only 2 ways you go about it.
Sounds
and
pretty
either way, they walk out with the championship. Roman loses night 1 and loses a title. Because now you have a shaken Roman on night 2. Well, he lost last night with interference, but he lost. What does that have to do for his confidence level going into this? He's shaken. He hasn't felt a loss in years. And he just took a loss, not only by the hands of his cousin, The Rock, but to a member of the bloodline, Sami Zayn, to boot. Like, what's that doing for him? And Sami doesn't come out with the bloodline. You know what I mean? I'm just saying you could do it. You could get that moment.
That sounds pretty interesting. I'm not going to lie. It would have me pretty hooked.
Right? I don't know. I also just love Sami, and I think he needs a couple of title runs. But he also doesn't.
For God's sake, come on.
Yeah, but he also doesn't. Realistically, he's so good. He's a Roddy Piper. He will always be main event level important moving forward.
Still, though, it'd be nice to just see him have it once, because a run with Sami as world champion would be absolutely wonderful.
Hysterical. Be so good. And then he could lose it to Solo or something.
Plus, he deserves it for doing all this, all like amazing work he's been doing. So,
yeah, everything he's been doing has been incredible. Well, those are my thoughts. Anything else you want to put out there into the world?
I got nothing. Like, just ready for Survivor Series at this point.
You just got to plug your nose and fuck it, dude. You just got to get through it.
Plug your nose and fuck it.
Just got to get through it, get to Survivor Series. It's going to be fine. I guarantee you, in the next 10 days, there will be a dog shit SmackDown and a dog shit Raw. It's just the fact of it. Survivor Series is going to be better than expected because going into it, we're going to have no wind in our sails. But everything after Survivor Series, I'm telling you, is taking us right to WrestleMania, and it's going to be a slow boil, but it's going to boil over. It's going to be sick. That's my
Mania season's going to be fucking nuts.
It's going to be so good, dude. So good. Who do you think Goldberg should fight?
Oh God.
I think Goldberg should fight CM Punk and win in 10 seconds.
Oh, I hope he does.
Yeah.
Just because fuck Punk. Probably the only time I've rooted for Goldberg in a long ass time. But when it comes to CM Punk, he's gonna go in there and squash CM Punk. You're damn right. I'm rooting for Goldberg.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna buy the fucking WrestleMania Goldberg shirt. I'm gonna do the whole thing. I'm gonna get the action figure that has CM Punk's blood on his hands. Some crushed ice cream cone. It's gonna be great.
Yes.
All right, man. Thanks for coming through and hanging out with me. Today was a bit of a weird day scheduling wise, and I appreciate you being able to make it happen and make it work. So I appreciate you being one of our drinking buddies, man. You want to tell people where they can find you and more of your takes as they were?
Partially sometimes terrible. Sorry, partially sometimes decent. Find me on Twitter at JustinTime211. In Time Wrestling Podcast. Yes, we are kind of on a hiatus because got a lot of stuff going on out in the real world right now. And again, kind of just dropped my motivation to really do a lot of stuff, but kind of to spoil it here, we're going to be doing our new classic pay-per-view review coming out. So we'll probably have that out on Sunday. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Until then, thank you for having me back on again, because always love doing your show when I can. So
it's always a good time, man. We appreciate you coming through. We appreciate Curable from curable.com, KURIBL.com. Use promo code MADTHANKS or promo code PWS. Get 20% off any of your orders for CBD, Delta 8, Delta 9 to the states that allow that to be shipped to them. The information is on those products, so you don't have to dig around to find out if you can order that stuff or not. But they do have CBD there for all your aches and pains. They have different ways of getting it: gummies, chocolates, salves, creams, roll-ons, teas. They have horse feed, dog treats. So if you got pets who have a little bit of extra energy or a little bit of anxiety, or even chronic pain. A lot of pets have chronic pain now as they get older. The CBD treats helps them through that, feel a lot more comfortable and to feel a lot less anxious. So just something to keep an eye out on and something to check out. Curable.com, KURIBL.com, promo code MADTHANKS or PWS for that 20% off. Guys, we will be back right here in the dive bar of the IWC tomorrow night for a brand new episode 1. That's the last call. Thank you for being our drinking buddies.
Cheers.
Hey, producer lady here. Thanks for tuning in. Continue to support us or buy us a drink by following and putting the I in subscribe on Twitch. or subscribe and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. Cheers!
I would never have a drink with wrestling on the rocks.